This is an Allied Mike production.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's edition of Boring Title. I'm Mike Madigan with Allied Title, and I'm here with Eddie Jackson from Draper and Kramer. What's going on, Eddie?
Hey, what's up? Always good to see you, Mike.
Good seeing you too.
Doing well.
With today's rates, they're super low. I know we've gotten a lot of refinances. I thought it would be a good idea to tell some people, what the top 3 questions that a mortgage lender has been receiving, and let's provide them with a little bit of education and give them the answers to those questions.
Great. Hopefully this little bit of time we're spending helps somebody out. So as I think about it, maybe the most common question that I get is, do I have to pay closing costs all over again? I think anyone who's bought a home, we've all, gone to the closing table and emptied out our savings account. And that's a little bit traumatic, and even though, we hear rumors from our friends and neighbors that rates have gone down and they're saving money, if you haven't refinanced before, you might worry that entails emptying your savings account again, and it's actually not that way. So as you know, Mike, when after you bought your home and you paid your principal down a little bit, your home's gone up in value a little bit, there's equity there. So you can normally roll all the costs, except for your appraisal, of course, back into the loan. So you can just focus on whether or not it makes sense, financial sense, to lower your rate, lower your payment. And it's quite the opposite. Normally, people end up skipping a month's mortgage payment when they refinance. So if that's you, don't let fear of cash out of pocket be the reason that you don't inquire about a refinance. Vet it out like any other really important decision you ever have to make.
Okay.
So that's the first one. Another question is it harder to get approved for a mortgage during COVID, whether you're buying or refinancing? And that's a fair question. A lot of mortgage companies have gone through changes, had to make changes to survive this environment. I won't bore you with the details, but I will tell you, we have gone from an environment where really every mortgage company had the same thing, the same product, to one where there's big difference between one core mortgage company and another. And the answers you get to questions really depend on who you ask, unfortunately. So I would say it's a good idea to start with someone who you know to be knowledgeable, like Mike and Allied Title, or of course asking myself. And there's normally a solution for the thing that you want. The bottom line is you can still do FHA loans down to 580 and VA loans down to 580 FICO scores, and conforming loans to 660. There's some small little nuances here and there, but there might be one company that'll do that and another company that doesn't do FHA loans at all. And if you ask the wrong person and you're not persistent, you might hear a no and end up not buying a home or paying a lot more money and interest than you have to because of the information you got. So be persistent and use your resources is the main answer to that question.
Okay.
So the third is, does it take 3 or 4 months to finish your refinance? And the answer is, it depends on where you're doing it. So the fact is, rates are at an all-time low, the lowest they've ever been. And as a result, the mortgage person these days, it's the roller coaster line. So everybody wants to get on the roller coaster. You will too. It's in everybody's best interest. But it does not have to be 60 or 90 days. Different companies are handling this differently. Over here at Draper and Kramer, I'm proud to say that my average refinance is closing in about 35 days. So my customers are happier. Rates are better at 35 days than they are at 90. So they benefit from it in that way. So if you've been in process for 2-3 months, it's okay to look around. Ask Mike, and Mike will put us in touch.
And I have a quick secondary question to your last question that you get asked frequently. A lot of people think that rates are still going to drop lower and that it might be lower than it actually is today. What
Yeah.
type of process do you guys have in place to where, say, you get locked in today at X rate, and then 2 weeks from now, the price actually lowers again? What happens in that situation, or vice versa, even if you get locked in today and then the rates raise? What's the difference between those?
You know, I think a mortgage person in their best form, the greatest form, has mastered that part of it. So when you really dig into the details, your mortgage person is a lot like your stockbroker, right? They're helping you purchase a commodity. This commodity is a mortgage interest rate. So you've got to find someone you trust that's knowledgeable and take their advice. There are a number of tools in place. The main one is, I know when to lock. I get texts all throughout the day that tell me how mortgage-backed securities are trading. And at whatever point rates bottom out, something happened that's going to drive rates back up. Typically, I lock all of my customers that day. And normally we're locking an awesome rate. And we've got tools like a lock with a float down, which just means that if, I'm right and rates go up, but while we're processing your loan, rates go back down, we can relock you one time. That's rare. Normally when I lock a person in, it's the right place to be locked. And I think a last part of your question is key and important for people to understand. If you're paying 4% or 4.5% and you're waiting for the absolute bottom, whatever benefit you get from that marginally lower rate, you're giving it away right now as you pay that higher rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if a person's paying 4% and right now they could get 2.75, right? So you could save 1.25% on your rate every year, which is like 1/8 of a percent every month. Because you think you might get another 1/8, you just lost 1/8 every month that you waited. Yep. So the right thing to do is to have your mortgage person, the better thing to do is have your mortgage person structure your loan so that your closing costs are minimal. And then put yourself in a position so when things bottom out, you refinance again later. There are ways to structure a refinance so there are literally no closing costs. And I don't mean no closing costs out of pocket. I mean, literally, you can do them for free if you think you might refinance again. Often that's the way you should do it.
Awesome. And then lastly, obviously real estate has changed a lot in the past couple of months due to the pandemic. How has your business changed, or how have you kind of pivoted through the pandemic to continue with your business?
Yeah, just focusing on digital. I'm grateful that the way my company is set up, the way my business is set up, we just keep making people happy, and they send their friends and family, and my phone rings constantly. So my challenge is really just being as efficient as possible to get people what they need in the timeline they need it in. It's not really like, how am I going to find my next loan? It hasn't been that way, and I'm grateful for that. But rates are all-time lows. 95% of the country should probably refinance, even if you did your mortgage a year ago. Yeah. So there aren't anywhere near as many loan officers that have the capacity to do loans right now as there are people who should do it. So we've got a mobile app, which is useful, and we're 98% digital in our process. There's very little people have to do to sign documents. I refinanced 2 months ago, and 98% of the stuff that I had to do, I did from my couch on my cell phone. So really just encouraging people to do that is the key. So if you're listening to this and you're not great with technology, I encourage you, just step out of your comfort zone a little bit, be prepared to do that, and it's going to save you time and frustration and, result in a really great process.
Awesome. Well, appreciate your time. If anybody watching this wants to contact you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
My cell. Call me or text me, 202-596-4710. And I'm taking calls and texts 7 days a week. So if you've got a question, or whether it's mortgage related or not, hit me up. Love to chat.
All right. Well, appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. Thanks for joining us for the Boring Title this week. And we look forward to continue working with you. Thanks for everything you've done for us, and keep crushing it during this pandemic.
Always a pleasure, my friend. All right, let's catch up soon.